little children. I'm in the singing of the dance, really admire them. Smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. Remember, I'm so little children. I'm in the singing of the dance, really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Chin, chin, chin. In a bar. See for mama. With them fat chicken. And she won. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she fat like a chow. Oh, smallness is still on me mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had so little children. I'm gonna sing another dance that's really admire them. What they're singing? All around, like the roses, bright and shining, and show me the one. When I marry, boys and girls, Sunday, Monday, we will spend our honey. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had so little children. I'm gonna sing another dance that's really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. He only fire down the escalator. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Escalator, shoot, shoot, shoot. And now wipes the lady face. The lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down, fell down. And she fell down, fell down. And she fell in the ocean too. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never something to children. I'm really singing on the dance that's really admire them. And I'm singing, children, children. Yes, mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. On me go get them. Like on the chair. So what's the fun? Be not gay. Bad victim. Be not gay. Wicked victim. Be not gay. Oh, smallness is still on the mind. Smallness is a good time. Never some little children. I'm gonna sing it on the dance, really admire them. I'm gonna sing it on the dance, really admire them. I'm gonna sing it on the dance, really admire them.
Bamboo.
Fire, bamboo. What kind of fire? Bamboo. Hot fire? Bamboo. Too much fire.
Bamboo fire, what kind of fire?
Bamboo fire makes so, makes so.
Bamboo fire, what kind of fire?
Bamboo fire makes so, makes so.
Bamboo fire, what kind of fire?
Bamboo fire makes so, makes so.
Bamboo fire, what kind of fire?
Bamboo fire makes so, makes so. Bamboo fire, hot fire.
Bamboo fire makes so, he makes so.
Bamboo fire, hot fire.
Bamboo fire makes so, he makes so.
Bamboo fire,
Bamboo fire makes so, he makes so.
bamboo fire,
Bamboo fire makes so, he makes so. 6 o'clock and eating already.
bamboo fire makes so, makes so.
attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100. Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Kellyan Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
All right, hey, guess what? Good evening. My name is Mark Benschop, and you're on to Straight Up on 107.1 FM. We must apologize for the late start. In fact, we're having some serious technical issues in terms of blockouts and so forth. And those of you who know about blockouts in Guyana, you'd understand exactly what I'm talking about. And so, good evening to all of you, every one of you, wherever you are. And those of you who are in Guyana, those of you who are outside of Guyana, those positive, mind you, positive thinking people. Good evening to all of you. All right. So if we just, yep, we have that removed and we just welcome you to the show. Welcome. I have no guest tonight, but I have our famous operator has decided to stop by in the studio. Well, on the line, I don't know what is bothering him, but let's get straight to Lemon. Lemon, good evening to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good evening, Mike. And how are you?
Good, thank you. Good. What's happening? What's bothering you? Lots of things in Guyana. Cost of living, every single thing. Not so good. What's bothering you, though?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much for the dinner that you give to the staff of 107.1 FM. we had a good evening on Saturday evening. So thank you very much for that.
Yep, you guys are welcome, and I must say, Lemon looked all dashing, all sharp, brand new shoes, brand new clothing, but you didn't have on any socks. Typical Caribbean guy, but good to see you guys still. Saturday gone. What else is bothering you, Lemon?
Well, nothing really, I'm just looking on and see what the politician is doing. I'm just looking on and trying to stay abreast of things.
Okay, you're just looking on. What are you seeing? Let's touch on. Are you pleased with what's happening in terms of, because not so long ago we've been hearing boots on the ground, all manner of things, boots on the ground, boots on the ground. Are you pleased with what you're seeing coming out of the opposition tent?
No.
Why?
I'm not seeing any boots on the ground. I don't know what's really going on with that,
What exactly?
So,
what exactly, as a supporter of the opposition, what exactly are you looking for? What sort of representation are you looking for, sir?
well, I'm looking for somebody who can represent the people and not talk with boots on the ground, because if they keep talking and no action, everybody will go and vote for the PPP. We need to see boots on the ground.
Well, mind you, Lemon, the PPP has serious problems. They cannot govern. Their supporters are upset with them. Look at what happened with the rice farmers and other individuals in Guyana who would have supported for the PPP. So I doubt that they are going to want to go back in droves to vote for the PPP. I doubt that. But go ahead.
Well, it may turn to that. We need to see boots on the ground for the opposition. They need to go out there.
What is your
campaigning.
Lemon? What, other than, yes, boots on the ground, what is your interpretation of boots on the ground?
The MPs have to go to the communities and talk to the people, see the concern, what's bothering them, and don't wait on the government. Go out there. Go out there and talk to the people.
So you are of the view, as a supporter of the opposition, and it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter that you work here. You're entitled to support whomever you wish to support. But as a supporter of the opposition, what exactly are you looking for when you say boots on the ground and you want MPs to go on the ground and show more representation? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, more representation, and want to know what is the agenda for if they win when they win the election. I must say that when they win the next election, just go out there and start telling people what you're going to do for the people, for the country. We want to know that. Don't just sit back and lay back and wait till election and you're going to campaign. Start now.
Fair enough. You might be offending some of the MPs who are just missing in action. They are not on the ground.
Let them be offended. I don't care.
All right. Is there anything else that's bothering you before you go, other than not seeing boots on the ground?
No, just thank again for the wonderful dinner that you give us. Thank again for that.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lemon. Appreciate it. Now you can head back to work. And I appreciate your honesty, because people are indeed.
And next thing, I may have to ask for a raise, because.
All right, we
saying I didn't have any socks. I don't know.
We've got to go, but thank you so much, Lemon. I appreciate your time, and I expected that you would have been asking for a raise and socks and all these different things, but things sucks in Guyana. Politically speaking, it's just not right in that country, and people want representation. People want proper representation, mind you. One man can't do it all. You need a team, and if you don't have a team, well, what is going to happen, right? The opposition members of parliament, we're not seeing them. I don't know. We're not seeing them other than the few that we're seeing on social media, right? We're just not seeing them. Candace Narain, good evening to you. You're on the ground, Candace. Tell us. I'm looking at the comment section. Are you seeing much activities on the ground by members of parliament for the coalition? Speak. It's okay. Speak the truth. All right. While I say good evening to you folks who are tuned in, all of you guys, I'm not going to leave out any. I'll say good evening to all of you. Some of you are a little mischievous, but I'll still say good evening to all of you. Every single one of you. All right. Let me see what Candace Narain is going to say, because she's on the ground. She is on the ground. But while we wait for that, I want to bring to your attention something that the PPP did, and they gave away about 4 point something, I think 4.7 acres of land to a Russian businessman who is banned from doing business in Guyana, banned from doing business in the US, but he's doing business in Guyana. And I'll explain exactly what it is that he is doing, or what he was supposed to be doing. But Guyanese are punishing, while Jack Dio and the PPP are giving away the land, not just the land that they gave away to Sioux, right? I think it's about 49,000 acres of land to Sioux. So one man owns that. One man owns that. But I want to show you guys something. For those of you who are now joining us, good evening to you. But I want to show you guys something. What's really happening, what the PPP is actually doing. Now take a look at this. This is Liliendahl. For those of you who don't remember where Liliendahl is, because we do have a lot of overseas Guyanese, some who don't go back as often as they should, and some who have been out for a long period of time. And Liliendahl is on the east coast of Demerara. On the east coast of Demerara. And let me explain what this land is all about, right? So it gives you a better understanding as to what I'm talking about. Now, that piece of land, like I've said, it's on the east coast of Demerara. Sorry about that. On the east coast of Demerara. And around 2008, Barra Jagdeo, under his regime, PPP regime, sold that piece of land to Russian aluminum company, which is Rusal, right? And it was supposedly for the construction of a vacation home for the president of the company, Oleg Deripaska, right? That's the Russian. He has been banned, and he's one of the oligarchs, right? He has been banned doing business in the US and other parts of the developed world. But that piece of land, you take a look, it's a big piece of land, right? A huge piece of land, 4.7 acres sold to that guy, Oleg Deripaska, right? The guy that owns the Russian company there, bauxite company Rusal in Guyana. And that was supposed to be for him, right? For some sort of construction of a vacation home for that guy. Now, here's what I want to ask. And I hope that Barra Jagdeo and those other folks can answer the question how the guy was able to acquire that plot of land, 4.7 acres, prime land on the east coast of Demerara, Liliendahl, prime piece of land, big piece of land. Yes, and I want you guys to hear the truth. But yet when the coalition was kicked out of office, mainly because of laziness by some of them who were supposed to do what they were supposed to do to properly monitor voting stations and polling stations and these different things. right? But that's another story, right? But when the PNC, APNU, AFC, they were kicked out of office and the PPP was installed, they went after individuals for little frivolous things like land ownership and all these manner of things, right? But look at what Jack Deere they did. Look at what Jack Deere they did. Look at what they did. Give away 4.7 acres of land. Mind you, the land actually cost, they sold it to that guy, I believe, for about 150 million Guyana dollars. The actual cost of that land is $350 million. So they cut it in half. You know, just like what they did when they were in office. They give away a lot of the prime properties through, state assets. They gave it away through NISL. And that is why when the coalition was in office, when they were in office, they charged Brassington, who was the head of NISL, they charged the then finance minister because they gave, according to the allegations, mind you, according to the allegations, they gave away those prime properties and lands to their friends and cronies. Allegations leveled against them, but they were charged. They appeared before the court, Brassington and Dr. Ashney Singh, and they were sent on their own recognizance. They're free to go. We didn't see a police lift them up at a pants buckle or a pants back. We didn't see them in shackles, in handcuffs like Winston Jordan, former finance minister, and so forth. We didn't see those manner of things, right? And here's what the thing is. After they were charged with all those allegations leveled against them, hundreds of millions of dollars, allegations, mind you, defrauding taxpayers, defrauding the state, they were sent home on their own recognizance. We can't hear that for a small man with a little petty thief, whether in Albistown, Monrepo, Port Morant, Blackbush Polder, or wherever. They're not being sent home on their own recognizance. They're sent home on big bail or even sent to jail in a lot of cases. Now, guess what? Not only were they sent home on their own recognizance, they were even allowed to leave the country to go back to the job. One of them went back to Florida and the other one went back to Dubai so that he can continue with this good and lovely, cozy job, right? Coalition, they've made mistakes, right? But they've also did really, really good things for that country during that 5 years. But they've made some mistakes that came back to haunt them, mind you. And it's a collective effort in terms of the mistakes made. Collective, mind you. All right? So let's get back to this. Let's get back to this here, this piece of land. What is it? And I hope those in the opposition would question the installed regime about this here. What has happened to this land? How much this guy really paid for the land? And who collected the money? Who collected the money? Did it go into the taxpayers, the consolidated funds or whatever? Or did it go into, this is just a question I'm asking. Did it go into the pockets of Barra Jack Deere or other cronies? That's the question that I'm asking. Right? That's the question that I'm asking. And I see Gary Greenidge says, hey, Mark, that Russian guy is on the U.S. block list, the Russian oligarchs. Right? So is Sarah going to get Jack Deere to take back that? No. Yeah. Look, Gary, I know you listen to the program all the time. I respect that. Your contributions on the program have been tremendous. I respect and I agree with some. I disagree with some. This is one that I'm going to disagree with you on. Yes, and not everything here. Of course, yes, he's a Russian guy. He's been blocked and something should be done. These guys shouldn't get the benefit of taxpayers' monies and all manner of things and sweet deals in Guyana. It shouldn't happen. But we cannot sit down and depend and think that Sarah Lynch, the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Guyana, can do everything. Now, I know what you're saying. I know how you feel. But the people, the citizens have to do something too. I mean, I'm tired calling on the opposition to do something, because the opposition, they feel that they have the best strategy. They have the strategy to do everything. They have a strategy for this. They have a strategy for that. This and everything they have a strategy for, but they're not fighting. They're just not fighting. It seems as though the opposition, they're doing more fighting inside than fighting outside. So every day there's a struggle, there's a battle, whether on WhatsApp, chat group, there's a battle of pulling each other down. That is what they do. And they got to take that goddamn fight to the streets. And when I say to the streets, I don't mean physical fight. I mean political fight, to stand up and represent the people that they are there to represent. And by extension, Guyanese who are hurt. Not just coalition supporters are feeling the squeeze. PPP supporters are feeling the squeeze. Go out in the communities where predominantly, PPP stronghold, go out there, support. I mean, lend them, those people your support to, because you're looking for votes. Don't complain that Jack Deere going to PPP going to Linden, PPP going in Sophia, PPP going in Buxton. Don't sit and complain. You go out and you do the same. You go out and talk to the people on the ground. Talk to them. Let them know mistakes were made. Because things aren't better now. Things are 10 times worse. Guyana's gone 10 to 15 to 20 years backward under this installed PPP regime. I know I say installed because Freddie Kissoon seemed to be on a mission. He likes to call people the fringe group or whatever it is. In other words, those of us who are doing and saying what we're saying, whether on social media or on the radio. We are fringe element or fringe whatever. Freddie should know about those sort of things, right? And seems to think that we are just loudmouth. Really? A loudmouth. Okay, loudmouth. This is not being broadcast via radio, but I was going to play a tape, but forget about that for now. Since it's a playing field that I can talk whatever I want to talk, so to speak, because this program tonight is not being broadcast via the radio because, like I've said earlier, we have some technical problems, right? Electrical problems. So now, hear what? Freddie Kissoon is on a mission. And he can't do it. Try to discredit what we're saying. Because every time we talk about the installed regime, because that's what it is. The PPP is an installed regime. The U.S. State Department described them as an installed regime. What else you want? All Freddie Kissoon is talking about is rigged elections. He believes that he has the monopoly on the truth and that he has all the evidence. And nobody else is making sense. Nobody else is making sense other than Freddie Kissoon, right? We are not making sense, according to Freddie. We are loudmouths, the same loudmouths that he was around, the same loudmouths that defended and protected him. And when he was with us, he had the biggest mouth, the biggest bark. But he couldn't go to front to bark. It's the same loudmouths had to defend him. It's the same loudmouth. When we were placed in breakdown lockups for 3 nights, had to console him and defend him. But a day like today, we are the loudmouths. We are a fringe group. I don't know, but something is definitely wrong. And that is why I put him, he wants to label people. I put Freddie Kissoon as part of the peanut butter crew and the MMC crew, right? Now let's get to Freddie now. Freddie Kissoon is talking about this group. He's talking about this group. Now let me get this group here for you guys. He's talking about the Private Sector Commission. The Private Sector Commission. This guy, Paul Chung, is the chairman of the Private Sector Commission. Now, the Private Sector Commission is not concerned about business across Guyana. So who is Freddie fooling? In Freddie's article today, he said that he had another reporter from Kaichor News who is now working for the installed government, right? The other reporter, I'm certainly, based on what I was told, that he's now working for the installed regime, that other reporter that Freddie mentioned. Now, Freddie said that he was getting reports, and obviously accurate reports, about rigging. And this was coming from who? Jerry Govaya. Now, Jerry Govaya is what is he? He's some national security advisor, right? National security advisor to the government of Guyana. And now, Jerry Govaya is not concerned about nation and nation building and all these different things. He's not. Jerry Govaya is concerned about Jerry Govaya and all of his businesses. That is what he's concerned about. Jerry Govaya is not going to be concerned about free and fair elections and look who's rigging elections and all these manner of things. And if people, well, I don't depend on Freddie, but if Freddie got to depend on Jerry Govaya, a man that Freddie hates, for accurate information through the Private Sector Commission, well, I wonder who is really part of the fringe element. I wonder who is. The same Jerry Govaya that got a sweetheart deal from a building that is located opposite the U.S. Embassy there in Georgetown and Duke Street. It's called Duke Lodge. He didn't get a fair market value on that building. It was a sweetheart deal that he got under Jack Deere's regime. A sweetheart deal. And so the point that I'm making, these members of the Private Sector Commission, they're not concerned about you, the citizens. It's what they can grab and what they can gain. Look at up the East Coast, right by Liliendal there. A man got all the acres of land. The guy from National Hardware. Those are people Freddie now loves. He loves them. I don't know why, but I can tell you this. It certainly doesn't have to do with any rigged elections. I don't know what it has to do with. I just don't know. But it's not about rigged elections, because so far Freddie Kissoon has not presented a piece of evidence to substantiate his claim, because he's the only one on the mountaintop yelling and crying out rigged elections, and every time people like us counter what he has to say, or to say and describe the PPP as an illegal regime, as a regime that has gotten into office under questionable circumstances. And now here are the questionable circumstances. I've shown you guys umpteen times. And I'll bring Freddie on this show to debate him on the matter. If he can present the evidence, I will shut my mouth. But if he can present the evidence and he continues to defend and stand on the platform of the peanut butter crew, some of you should know who the peanut butter crew members are, right? Good. To stand on that platform and shout on the top of his mouth, pretending as though he's the only man who speaks the truth and who has the authority because he has been a journalist for 40 years. Really? A journalist for 40 years? You've got to be kidding me, Freddie Kissoon. You've got to be kidding me. Now again, Freddie, show me the evidence. Show the evidence that the elections were rigged by the coalition. And I'll take you to Shanta. just for old time's sake, for food. I'll take you to Shanton just for old time's sake. But if you can't show the evidence, shut the hell up. Who could be more loudmouth than a Freddie Kissoon? Who could be more loudmouth than a Freddie Kissoon? Y'all never see Freddie in action, eh? Y'all never see Freddie dress down people, especially certain kinds of people. Cuss them nasty, nasty, stinking about who more qualified and who used to run the street and WHORE about and all these different things. All these manner of things. But yet he sits and hide behind the Kaichur News to call people names about fringe element and loudmouth and everybody. He wants to decide for you guys who should represent you guys. That is what he wants to do. He wants you guys to look to him, right? And that he should decide who should speak for you guys and who shouldn't speak for you guys. And so we are fringe element, right? But he's a nice guy. He is a nice guy, right? Right, so he is a nice guy. He's the only nice guy that they have around. The only nice guy that they have around. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. We'll get to something just now so that we'll straighten this thing out about fringe element and loudmouth and so forth and so on. Because remember, Freddie used to be with us. We used to protect Freddie. We used to make sure that he wasn't harmed by Jack Deere government, by Donald Ramatar, and all of those things. We used to protect him because he came to us so that we can protect him. But after protecting him, a day like today, as we would say, he's cussing us. He's cussing us. We are no good. We're no longer good, right? We're no longer good.
Freddie.
Come you want to take me out?
Freddie.
I come back from you, Thomas. You take it on me, eh? Jacker, you are stupid. I bet the tree university. You need to touch the school. Get your ass here. You can train you. You can train them Yankees.
Come here, Carl. Don't close. Don't.
Hypocrite. Can't use any workers.
All right, we'll go back at it again.
Freddie.
Come you want to take me out?
Freddie.
I come back from you, Thomas. You take it on me, eh? Jacker, you are stupid. I bet the tree university. You need to touch the school. Get your ass here. You can train you. You can train them Yankees.
Come here, Carl. Don't close. Don't.
Hypocrite.
Freddie.
Come you want to take me out?
Freddie.
I come back from you, Thomas. You take it on me, eh? Jacker, you are stupid. I bet the tree university. You need to touch the school. Get your ass here. You can train you. You can train them Yankees.
Come here, Carl. Don't close. Don't.
Hypocrite. Can't use any workers.
All right. I just and that is a guy love to call people loudmouth, fringe element, fringe this, and all these manner of things. And now I just thought that you get to see that for yourselves, right? But the PNC, they're not doing anything. The AFC not doing anything to counter the nonsense that Freddie Kissoon writes about rigged elections. He's allowed to write all these manner of things, but nobody's countering him. Nobody's saying, look, shut up once and for all, Freddie. And I know they got some folks will screenshot. Well, they can't screenshot the video. They have this There are some of them who looking for attention, claim to be part of the coalition, will call him and say tomorrow that Benschop, cuss him out. I'm not concerned about Freddie and who cuss out Freddie or whatever. Freddie's not the only one who could cuss out people, right? But at least some of us have class. At least some of us have class, right? All right, but the PNC, they're not doing anything. They got this guy talking about rigged elections. Every day he's talking about rigged elections, and now he's glorifying the private sector commission and all these people. They're suddenly his friends, right? They're suddenly his friends. And now I placed this up earlier because I put it up earlier because look, this guy, Paul Chung, is the chairman of the private sector commission. And this is what he wrote. Now, of course, Freddie and them would love it now because Freddie seemed to be on a different side of the political aisle now, right? Probably, who knows, enjoying himself. Maybe he got a bowl of soup. I noticed he mentioned my name, in a disrespectful manner, Ben Soup, right? So Freddie knows why he's calling me Ben Soup, because he's probably the one drinking a set of soup now. But anyways, look at what Paul Chung. Paul Chung is the chairman of the Private Sector Commission. And this is the same Private Sector Commission with Jerry Govai and all of them. And when you look at some of the members of the senior members of the Private Sector Commission, you'll understand why people have to call them PPP. Look at what this guy is saying. And he's a good friend of Irfan Ali. The PNC cabal, when will you guys come clean to this nation? Fraud is fraud. Let's speak about Mingo, verified fraud, or shut up. That is what the current chairman of the Private Sector Commission is saying. Now, we're not talking about the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce. They're all the same. All of them are the same. But look, let's get to this guy here now. If the coalition rigged the elections, and I'm tired of asking the same question. I want to ask Freddie Kissoon the same question. If the coalition rigged the elections, and I want you guys to see my facial expression in this. If the coalition rigged the elections, and mind you, it was the very PPP and their supporters were singing and chanting for SOPs. They were saying, show our your SOPs, show our your SOPs, show our your SOPs, where the SOPs, where the SOPs? And now here's a simple question. Who has the SOPs now? Who has control of the SOPs? And not only the SOPs, all of the evidence. And that is why I want to point it out to Freddie Kissoon. I want to point it out to Freddie Kissoon in a civilized manner and let him know that we loudmouths, and I'm a proud loudmouth, mind you, right? I'm a proud loudmouth. That's why he should be proud to be a new member of the peanut butter crew. Right? The same peanut butter crew people that throw filth in his mouth and on his face. And we rescued him. We always rescue him. Right? But we are the bad guys now. We rescued him. We picked him up. We cleaned him out. We dusted him out. We cut his hair. We made him look presentable. But we are the bad guys now. We are the bad guys now. Right? We did all of that to him. But we are the bad guys. I'm a bad guy. UC Guyana is a bad guy. Lincoln Lewis is a bad guy. Takuma Gunsi is a bad guy. Look, I'm showing you. Let me run it through again. Ben Soup. This is where the disrespect is coming from. Ben Soup. He's addressing me as Ben Soup. Guy who did all of that for him, defended him whilst we spent 3 nights in the Brigham lockups. When he begged the police for us to be in a cell, when he was in a cell with a guy accused of murder from out the quarantine and some other guy, he yelled, he begged, he said, oh man, is that what you're going to do to me, Freddie Kissoon? A guy who defended you, who was there for you, who drove you home to make sure you reached safely. And I had to take that long stretch to go back home all by myself. Is that what you do to me, Freddie Kissoon? Disrespect. But good, forget about me for a moment. Forget about me for a moment. You see Guyana, David Hines, Takuma Ogunzi, Dr. David Hines, every one of us. You're just going to be so ungrateful to us, all because we are not of the view that the elections were free and fair and that the PPP got in there through free and fair elections. And you believe that you're the only one that is right? I see Rita Singh is saying here, well, of course we were like his bodyguards. He wanted to, we were good. We were the best thing for him since sliced bread. The best thing for him since sliced bread. We defended him. We protected him. We cleaned him up. We presented him properly. We counsel him. I counsel him for 3 nights in breakdown lockups. Freddie, don't cry. Freddie, calm down. He done with politics. He done with activism. He done with everything. All because of 3 nights in the lockups. What about if it was 5 years? What about if it was 5 years in Camp Street in solitary confinement? What would he have done? Probably would have hung himself. Freddie, I know your friend from the coalition who does talk our names with you will call you bright and early tomorrow morning and tell you that Benschop talking about you on his show. I know that will happen, but that's okay. Because I ain't got no licks to get from a Freddie Kissoon. Absolutely none. And I'm not going to tolerate a Freddie Kissoon of all person to disrespect me, as he has done to all the other African Guyanese who are standing up and speaking out against injustices and atrocities committed by an installed PPP regime, a regime that Freddie is now comfortable with, mingling with them and defending them and protecting them, all in the name of a so-called democracy, all in the name of fighting. 40 years he was a journalist and everybody afraid of him. Barnum afraid of him, this body afraid of him, that body afraid of him. Give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. I don't want to say any more. I can say a lot more, trust me. But I got left some for now, for next time. I could say a lot more, but I'm gonna left some for now. I'm gonna leave it for later. What else can we talk about? Let's forget about him. Let's forget about him. I'll wait for him though. I'm sitting in a car now, waiting for him. Trust me. You know, I'm sure if Dr. Walter Rodney was alive today, he would have disrespected Dr. Walter Rodney, call him a racist and all manner of things too. I'm certain about that. But people gotta sing too, you know. You call me Ben Soup, but some people gotta sing because some like to drink soup. So some of them gotta drink for the soup. Some of them gotta drink for the soup. Because if the coalition ain't gonna defend themselves, if the PNC ain't gonna defend themselves, if the AFC ain't gonna defend themselves, well, I'm always willing and ready. Trust me. And there's much more that I can talk about. Much more I can talk. Let me see. I want you to see my facial expression. Much more I can talk about. Lots more I can talk about. But the timing right. It's just not right. Okay? Nobody's talking about these guys. Because for some of these folks They feel that these people are guilty of a crime, even though there's no evidence against them. None whatsoever against them. None. None of them. Shame and disgrace to the PPP regime. And shame and disgrace to anybody, including Freddie Kissoon, who without any evidence, without any conviction, this matter has not been even tried in any court, but he has condemned everybody who's standing up and saying that the elections were rigged and that the PPP were installed. Now, let's get back to this here before I go. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The PPP has all of the evidence. They have all of the SOPs. They have every single thing. Why do you suppose that the PPP, not the coalition, if we follow Freddie's reasoning, which isn't much, mind you, which isn't much, but if we follow Freddie's reasoning about the coalition rigging the elections, why then is the PPP stymieing the process of the elections petitions being heard? It is the PPP who doesn't want the elections petitions to be heard, not the coalition, not the PNC, not the AFC, not the other small parties within the coalition, the small parties like the WPA and the National Front Alliance. Well, at least the WPA has more members than the National Front Alliance, right? But they're not the ones who are stopping the elections petitions from being heard. Sorry, let me just take that back from the WPA. Because after the PPP rigged its way into office, the WPA, since the coalition was no longer in power, the WPA pull out. They pull out. They run away. I'll be on David Hines' program tomorrow evening, mind you, right? Good evening, Dr. Hines. They're good guys, mind you. We agree sometimes, we disagree sometimes, but the WPA pull out and they run away. And since they ran away, they haven't been doing much or talking much. They haven't been going out in the streets. They haven't been fighting in the streets. But the WPA wants other people to fight in the streets for them, politically speaking, not physical fighting. So it is not the WPA or the coalition that are blocking the elections petitions from being heard. Y'all know is who, right? Y'all know is who. And y'all tell Freddie is who. Y'all tell Freddie that it is the PPP regime, the installed PPP regime. They're the ones who are stopping the elections petitions from being heard. 2 elections petitions. They're the ones who are appealing. They're the ones who are running to the Caribbean Court of Justice to block the elections petitions from being heard. Now, if they had nothing to hide, the PPP that is, if the PPP had nothing to hide, why try to block the elections petitions? Why? Freddie Kissoon, answer that question. Why? Don't you think they would have been eager for the SOPs to be opened up and let the world see? And I want Freddie to have front seat in the court. Let the world see the SOPs. And let the world see the SOPs that the PPP were talking and their supporters were talking about that were tampered with by the coalition, the APNU AFC. I want to see. And I am sure that all of you watching this program or listening to this program right now want to see also. If the day that the SOPs were tampered with and that the APNU AFC rigged the elections, then the PPP should not stop or do everything to block the petitions from being heard. But you know what? And I hope Freddie Kissoon, well, he says that he's not on social media, he's not on Facebook, but yet for somebody who's not on Facebook knows everything that is happening on Facebook. I wonder why. Is he really not on Facebook? Or is he on Facebook? Good. But I want him to answer this question. Why is the PPP blocking the elections petitions from being heard? We all want to know the truth behind the elections. And like I have said before, if the coalition rigged the elections, they did on their own. But I need to see the evidence. And the evidence of any rigged elections, it's not in a column section, or it is not written by a Freddie Kissoon to tell me that Jerry Govaya and members of the private sector commission, we know who some of those members are, right? A big question marks around them. One of them was extradited to the US, not for thieving fudge or sugar cake or tamrambal, drug charges. He was a fugitive, but he was a member of the private sector commission, and he was also an elections observer on behalf of the same private sector commission that Freddie Kissoon claimed its then head, Jerry Govaya, was feeding him and another reporter at Kaiser News, who is now working for the install regime, mind you, that Jerry Govaya was giving them information. And so he's relying on information now that was sent to him by Jerry Govaya and the private sector commission. Well, Jerry Govaya got a nice, sweet job now as National Security Advisor. He's a big boy. National Security Advisor, you know what? There's a big job, you know. Those guys are businessmen. They're not patriots. They're businessmen. They first think about their business investments and how to make money. And now they know how to make money, right? So Freddie Kissoon wants us to rely on that as evidence, and that we must not describe the PPP as installed. The State Department, as I've said earlier, described the PPP as being installed. But Freddie doesn't want to call those people at the State Department loudmouths. He's going to call us, the people who defended him, the people who protected him, the people who saved him from the PPP and their drug lords and their vagabonds and their street thugs. I just say that to say that Freddie doesn't have the evidence. The evidence came out of, we saw the evidence, it came out of all of the ballot boxes at the recount, at the Ottachang Convention Center, that recount center. We saw it all right there and right then. They were ball by ball commentary by individuals who were brave enough to come out and talk with us. When a bully by the name of Mike Pompeo was threatening a nation, threatening members of the coalition, and there were just a few of us, maybe at one point only this program, whilst the others weren't coming out to speak, whilst people were being threatened and bullied into accepting elections results that are fraudulent. After the recount process, everything was there for all of us to see. Everything was there for all of us to see. And we saw. What we saw was that all of the credible votes counted. When all of the credible votes counted, the coalition won the elections. Without the credible votes, it shows the PPP ahead. including thousands of questionable votes, whereas the chief elections officer's job was to omit the questionable votes. Claudette Singh agreed to that. And then she did a swing, a U-turn, and she said, that can only be done via an elections petition. Claudette Singh did that. She did that. Kind of like a surprise that she did that, right, Claudette Singh? Oh, yes, she did. And so let us touch also on what Freddie said in his column today. Freddie said that Maya Motley, he's praising Maya Motley. He loves Maya Motley. He said that the CARICOM observers came and they observed the recount process. That might be true. They observed the recount process, but they left after even 10% of the recount votes were come. 10% or somewhere thereabout. They didn't stay for the process. They observed a little bit, but yet wants to pronounce on 100% of the elections. I mean, look, Freddie has been a lecturer for 30-something, a lecturer, one position, a lecturer. I'm sure if I start off as a lecturer, I got to become a professor someday. I got to write me some books. I got to get my PhD. I got to do all these sorts of things. And then no lecturer for no 35 years or so. I'm sorry about that. I sidetracked for a moment, right? Wants us to believe. Look, it's not making sense. You are going to say somebody observed less than 5 or 10% of the votes and pronounced on 90% of it. And they said that they were not there, but what they saw, it is not what they saw, and because they said what they saw means then that the elections went in favor of the PPP. They didn't say that. So Maya Motley and others depended on those people, the CARICOM observers, one of them questionable from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, want us to believe that the coalition rigged the elections. Why do you think they got rid of Roxanne Myers? They got rid of Lowenfield and Mingo and all these people. It's to create an impression that something sinister took place. Maybe something sinister took place, but I'm not convinced that the coalition did everything wrong. I'm not saying that the coalition might have been angels. I don't know. But I'm saying there's no evidence to point in the direction of the coalition that they actually rigged the elections. However, more evidence point in the direction of the PPP that they have rigged the 2020, the March 2020 elections. And no matter what Freddie Kissoon and others may say, it is not adding up. And we are not stupid people, Freddie. We're just not stupid people. All right? And he wants a statue of Sarah Lynch and all these manner of... Oh, gosh. I don't know what else to say, but don't believe the hype. Don't believe Freddie Kissoon and his nonsense. The elections, in my opinion, it's questionable. The PPP were installed, and they were installed by Mike Pompeo and his corrupt bunch. Now, maybe Freddie Kissoon can ask Sarah Lynch, or maybe one of the individual who likes to snitch on us, and he claims to be part of us, but he snitches on us by talking our names with Freddie Kissoon to get a little nice write-up and so forth. Let me show you guys this, but that can be dealt with some other time. Let me show you guys this, and these are the people that Freddie believes in, you know. These are the people that Freddie Kissoon believes in. Listen to Mike Pompeo before we go. And remind Freddie about this. Joe Biden won the elections, November 3rd, 2020. And look who refused to accept the results. The very folk, the very person that were demanding that the PPP get into office and Out goes the PNC by any means necessary, APNU, AFC. Look at him. And that's why I'm trying to break this thing down to you, that don't be fooled by individuals, whether they're columnists who cares the 40 years they've been writing, God and heaven knows what. If I have been writing for 40 years, I ain't gonna write like that. That's for sure. Listen to Mike Pompeo.
Mr. Secretary.
Hi.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. All right, we're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, a minute afternoon, will also be successful. I went through a transition on the front, and I've been on the other side of this. I'm very confident that we will do all the things that are necessary to make sure that the government, the United States government, will continue to perform its national security function as we go forward.
So you believe there's widespread voter fraud, that the reports that we're getting from Pennsylvania, from Michigan, showing vote totals in massive leads or significant leads with 99% reporting are going to be overturned, and that the United States failed to conduct a fraudulent free election?
Rich, I'm the Secretary of State. I'm getting calls from all across the world. These people are watching our election. They understand that we have a legal process. They understand that this takes time, right? It took us 37 plus days in an election back in 2000. We conducted a successful transition then. I'm very confident that we will count, and we must count every legal vote. We must make sure that any vote that wasn't lawful ought not be counted. That dilutes your vote if it's done improperly. Got to get that right. When we get it right, we'll get it right. We're in good shape.
Should foreign leaders not be calling
We're in good shape.
President-elect?
All the legal votes ought to be counted. All the legal votes, whatever time it takes, whatever the legal process is. But that's the same man who blocked the legal process, who threatened judges. And of course, judges were threatened. And of course, senior folks at the Guyana Elections Commission were threatened, including Claudette Singh. They were all threatened, right? But Freddie Kissoon is not going to write about that. He wants a statue now of Sarah Ann Lynch, the U.S. ambassador to Guyana. I'm showing you guys the evidence to debunk the trash that Freddie Kissoon is writing in order to make it look or appear that the coalition rigged the elections, when in fact the evidence is pointing in the direction of the PPPC, that they have rigged the elections and they were installed. It's just a matter of time. Why do you think Freddie is now attacking civil society? He is saying that the private sector commission is also part of civil society, which probably should be the case, but majority of members of the civil society are in the bed, in PPP's bed, drinking soup from the PPP. But Freddie's antics now is to go after a few guys who are now parading as civil society, who are part of Guardian of Democracy, and they were shouting the same thing Freddie is shouting now. But those guys know the truth, that the PPPC was actually installed. They know the truth. And so Freddie's after them now in order to discredit them, right? But they're jumping around and parading it's some Article 13 or whatever, but we'll talk about that later on. But watch the right. Before we go again, here is a lady who said that SOPs were handed out to the smaller parties. And Freddie Kissoon, it wasn't the PNC or the APNU or AFC or WPA or National Front Alliance who handed out SOPs to the smaller parties. Listen carefully.
So it means that we would not have gotten the statements of poll for every polling station. To be honest, the People's Republic Party have only a handful of statements of poll. The people who will have statements of poll for all the polling stations would be the large parties, which would be the coalition and the PPPC, because they would have been able to send scrutineers to all the polling stations. So let me say that verification process that we are hoping GCOM will have to return to complete will be largely between the coalition, that is the SOPs that the coalition has, and the SOPs that the PPPC has. Because the small parties only have a smattering of SOPs. Now, having said that, let me let you know that we small parties were given handouts with collated versions of the SOPs. We were very kindly given, because when we said, well, because we didn't have scrutineers at all the stations, I can tell you that one of the big parties very kindly offered us copies of a handout that had collated the results from the SOPs. Now, let me tell you, in the spirit of transparency, that as the presidential candidate for the PRP, I had a look at those results. It wasn't an in-depth look, because our election agent has that collated copy that we got from one of the big parties in her possession. But I can tell you this much. When I had a look at it, I was surprised, because I saw results on it that did not bear out the results that I had from the smattering of SOPs that we collected at the polling stations where we had scrutineers.
All right, so you heard that, right? Let Freddie Kissoon know that the party that handed out SOPs and the numbers on the SOPs, and I'm almost certain that she's referencing the PPP there. The numbers on the SOPs were different from what they had, the small parties had. And that's why don't be fooled with this guardian for democracy or whatever. They all were into it. They knew exactly what they were up to, right? All of them. Some of them are parading as members of some Article 13 and these sort of things. When they were here, they knew what they were doing. At this event, there was a lawyer by the name of remind me of his name, right? He threatened 3 female police ranks, all because the female police ranks were doing their job. Glenn Hanuman, right? So look, I can go on and on and on and talk and reveal the evidence. Reveal the evidence to debunk the nonsense that Freddie Kissoon is writing about. It's nonsense. There's no intellectual depth into what he's writing or proper research and these manner of things. None whatsoever. It's BS. I want to say what BS really is, because that's what it is. BS. No evidence. Just out of anger, hatred, vexation, animosity. And when people write with these sort of things, you could see it. You could read between the lines. And when they speak, you could see it. And you're left to understand exactly where they're coming from, or probably why they're doing it. Why? Do you guys see me behaving in this manner? I want to show you guys something. Do you guys see me behaving in this manner? In this manner, before we go, in this manner? You've got to be level-headed. And when you write, people must be able to believe what you write. And when you speak, people must be able to believe when you speak. You can't rant and rant and rant and rant and rant and throw tantrums and all these manner of things. Don't do that, because people are not going to believe you, because you have no evidence. There's nothing. I have given you guys a bulk of evidence, points in the direction that the PPP is more guilty of rigging an elections than the coalition. Now, I don't know whether the coalition did anything wrong, but what I can say is that I want the elections petitions to be heard so that I will be able to be convinced. If you guys want me to believe, some of you, mind you, like the Freddie Kissoon, that the coalition rigged an election, well, let the elections petitions be heard and let we all see who actually rigged the elections. The ball is in the PPP's court. Irfan Ali, Jack Dale, and Mark Phillips and all of them, it is in their court. But they don't want the elections petition to be heard for obvious reasons. And to you, coalition people, to you, coalition leaders, to you, coalition supporters, stop the internal bickering. Focus on the bigger picture. You notice you hardly see coalition MPs anyway now. You hardly see them. You see a couple of them on social media, but you hardly see them. What is happening? Why aren't we hearing the noise, lots of noise, on the call on the elections petitions to be heard? Why aren't we hearing that? Look at what the PPP supporters did with the SOPs. They were on every mountain top, bawling out, hollering, even though they knew it was a lie. SOPs. Are you sure your SOPs? Well, y'all coalition people, tell those people in Congress Place and at the leader of the opposition office and all over, tell them get their goddamn act together. If they want to snatch victory, real victory, free and fair elections next time around, as a coalition, they can do it. It is a high possibility because the PPP can't win a free and fair elections in Guyana. They can't. Long gone. Those days are long gone. I'll talk more about that later. But when I talk, they get vexed in the coalition. MPs are being instructed not to appear on Benschop's show because Benschop doesn't really like us. You want me to sit here and praise y'all? Praise y'all for what? Go out and represent your people. Many of you, all of you MPs are being paid for that. It's not a part-time job. Don't treat it as a goddamn part-time job. Go out and represent your people, man. It's late enough. I don't want to. I was going to leave though with somebody who's talking about loudmouth. I can't believe it that Freddie has the nerve to call people loudmouth.
Freddie.
Freddie.
You are stupid. I said to train you the first day. You need to go to the school. Get me out of here. You can train you. You can train them donkeys.
All right, let me leave by saying this. I have differences with that then minister. But further down on that tape, you'll see who's more civilized and how the matter was dealt with. Not by Freddie, but the same person he's calling loudmouth, part of a loudmouth group. And look, I'm not offended by that. I've been called worse, but it's okay. I'm just addressing a particular situation, right? But Freddie calling people loudmouth and fringe group and fringe element. Anyways, congratulations. Freddie's now officially part of the peanut butter crew. And you guys know who are part of the peanut butter crew. We'll close with this. This 4.7 acres of land that belongs to a Russian oligarch who is blacklisted by the US and other countries. Jack Deere, they sold this guy a big piece of land, 4.7 acres on the east coast of Demerara, Lilienthal. I hope the opposition would ask some serious questions about that. But for now, I've got to go. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful rest of the night. And as you go, pray for the family members of these fishermen. The Ministry of Infrastructure, they have suspended search for these men who miraculously, they just disappeared. They just disappeared. Another fisherman, you're still looking for him? I don't know what's happening in our country. But whatever is happening, we've got to pray. We've got to pray. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. God bless you all. And thank you for tuning in.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.